Hi, welcome to the Light of Deception. Today I'm going to start the series about what is going on in today's schools, public schools, and private school sex. What is going on in today's schools that is going to affect your children? What do I see as a teacher of 24 years and also worked in the private school sect and the public school system and also worked in high schools for 3 more years. So in 27 years, what have I seen going on in today's schools? Well, this is going to shock you, some of it. Some of it you might know. And for those who are new on the site, this site, The Light of Deception, is talking about church and world deception from a biblical viewpoint. And so today we're going to talk about the deception in today's schools. And I know a lot of you, this is going to be a red flag. So share this forward with people that you think do not know this information, could benefit from knowing this information, grandparents, parents, parents about ready to put their children in schools and trying to make school choices, to be very cautious on where you put your your children these days. So here we go. We're going to be talking about a little bit about critical race theory, comprehensive sex education, social emotional learning, and diversity, equity, and inclusion, and many other destructive practices ruining our schools. Now, I wanted to start off with telling you a little bit about the background of all this information. So Truth in Education is a really good resource if you haven't heard of them. They are really on the front lines with this stuff. So Truth in Education, this is kind of just an opening for them. It says Truth in Education is a nonprofit organization founded to educate parents and legislators on the radical ideologies being taught in our schools. Now, they do have a mission statement. This really is helpful because this is going to tell you what their game plan is here. It says our mission is to stop the sexualization and indoctrination in our public and private schools, expose the explicit anti-American content and pornographic material aimed at kids, and take back our parental authority to restore respect, honor, character. This is it. That makes sense. To restore respect, honor, character, and virtue in our classrooms, and our God-given right as parents to guide and direct the education and health of our children. The school system does not have the right to tell you what your children should be listening to and should be hearing and should be humanistic doctrinization. They should not be have that much power over your children, what they're setting their eyes to, and it just keeps getting more and more corrupt and more evil. And I wanted you guys to see this. This is impactful, just impactful video. It's going to be talking so much about what is comprehensive sexual education. So you need to know about that. And this is from a channel out there and also a website that's called Protect Our Kids. And we need to protect our kids. So let me give you an introduction to this. Increasing numbers of states across America now have some form of comprehensive sexual education, or CSE, in their public schools. This video describes what CSE is, the organization behind it, the worldview it represents, and sample curriculum. You're going to be shocked. All parents of K through 12 public school children should be aware of this information. So here it is.
What is comprehensive sexuality education, and why should you be concerned about it? Isn't education a good thing, especially about something as universal as sex? And if you're going to educate, shouldn't it be comprehensive? Well, maybe. It depends on who's doing the educating, who it's intended for, and for what purpose. Sex ed used to mean learning about human reproduction and was usually taught in high school biology. Not anymore. According to UNESCO, the United Nations Education, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, CSE is a process of teaching and learning about the cognitive, emotional, physical, and social aspects of sexuality. Sounds okay, until that is, you pull back the curtain to understand who else is behind CSE and why. Organizations like CSE, Planned Parenthood, Advocates for Youth, the Human Rights Campaign, and others which have motives for CSE that go well beyond what you might think. CSE, or Sexuality Information and Education Council of the United States, which despite the name is not a government organization, has recently rebranded itself to declare what it's really about: sex ed for social change, which it defines as a large-scale culture shift. Not surprising, since CSE was started by this woman, Mary Calderon, who previously was the medical director of Planned Parenthood, a devotee of the eugenist and serial pedophile Alfred Kinsey. What about Planned Parenthood, another one of the big sponsors of CSE? This organization was started by Margaret Sanger, who believed abortion was a means to cull the racially inferior or mentally unfit from society. For Planned Parenthood, using a gender transformative approach, CSE is a means to transform gender roles and advance equitable social systems. Advocates for Youth, co-sponsor of an organization called the Future of Sex Education, sees CSE as a means of advancing social, racial, and reproductive justice and equity. This thing called intersectionality, which translated means victim identity politics, and of course, language inclusivity, by which is meant people's preferred gender pronouns. These are the groups behind CSE. But who is CSE intended for? College students, who presumably are mature enough to understand and weigh the implications of such material? Not hardly. The audience is children, grade schoolers beginning in kindergarten, with sophisticated materials targeted to each successive grade. From kindergarten to second grade, teachers are advised to rely on books with titles like Who Are You?, My Princess Boy, and Jacob's New Dress. From third to sixth grade, we see titles like Uncle Bobby's Wedding, King and King, and It's Perfectly Normal. By the time kids reach middle school, the curriculums are so sexually explicit, we can't even describe them here. Which brings us to the purpose of CSE. It's hardly a secret. In California, the Department of Education published a 700-page document called The Framework that outlines in great detail the requirements of CSE. From this document, it's clear what the goal of CSE is. It's to promote a worldview with 4 identifiable goals. The first of which is to advance SOGI ideology in all K-12 public education. SOGI stands for Sexual Orientation, Gender Identity, and conveys the idea that both sexual attraction and gender exist along a spectrum. One's biological sex is meaningless. CSE teaches children to embrace subjective sexual and gender identities, if need be, through the force of law. The second goal of the CSE worldview is to sexualize children. CSE encourages children to become sexually active beginning in grade school. The evidence for this is amply provided in the various approved curriculums. The third goal is to destroy the nuclear family as the indispensable support of a healthy society, or at least the idea of it. CSE teaches that all arrangements and groupings of consenting adults are equally valid. Fourth, and finally, CSE seeks to undermine parental authority. A parent's conventional understanding of sex and gender are taught as negative stereotypes and may even be signs of spiritual abuse. Parents are discouraged from viewing CSE teaching materials by a mass of bureaucratic red tape. Children are coached on how to get contraceptives, treatment for STDs, and even abortions, all without a parent's consent or even knowledge. Taken together, as CSE's motto declares, the purpose of CSE is to bring about social change. But is this kind of social change a goal shared by tax-paying parents of children in the public school system? Should it be? Forewarned is forearmed. I'm Mark Schneider with Protect Our Kids.
Okay, shocking, right? They put it together in 6 minutes and it just impactful. Let people know what is going on, not only just in the public schools, because this is going into the private schools too. Now, there's some private schools that are standing steadfast and they're not wavering, but they are a diamond in the rough. So it's going to be really hard to find a place that you can trust to teach a God-given curriculum, a God-centered curriculum, a curriculum that is actually going to be really good for your children when it's just focusing on what they need to learn, mathematics, language and literacy, right? We're talking about true history. We're talking about social studies. We're talking about all the different facets and staying out of the areas that parents are responsible for. Now, I want to go back to the goals for truth in education. This is another thing they're doing. It says educate parents and the community on the harmful ideologies in the schools and teach them to educate others. That's exactly what I'm screaming out here too. Advocate for safe school media centers, libraries, free from student access to inappropriate books and material. You'll be shocked what is provided now. Promote critical thinking over feelings. Your feelings will always lead you astray, your emotions. Defend organizations that are tied to any agendas that are divisive. So defund organizations that are tied to any agendas that are divisive, anti-American, and over-sexualized our children and harm the family. Demand transparency of all curricula for parents review in its entirety, including all supplemental material, both online and in textbook form. Absolutely. Form investigative teams of parents and guide them through how to look for and identify curriculum, books, material in their schools, evaluate them. Anonymous resource for parents and teachers to share information that they deem inappropriate, divisive, and anti-American propaganda. Build a multitude of like-minded and be a force of light for change. Advocate for America's values, patriotism, freedom of speech, and the Constitution. Stand against restorative justice in the classroom. Support teachers and administrators that do not agree with the indoctrination that is taking place in their school. Provide legal counsel for teachers and parents to defend their right and the rights of their children. Amen. Thank God there's places like this that are actually standing on truth and standing for your children and your right to be their parents. The state does not control your parents and control the way your children think. They do not have that much power to indoctrinate your children in humanistic ideology. Here's another thing. It says, our belief, we bring awareness and understanding of the overreach of government in our schools through progressive ideologies that are unbiblical, anti-family, and anti-American. We educate parents, the community, and legislators on the harmful elements of the curricula that is being used to indoctrinate our children and further erode the family, our liberties, freedom, love of country, and love of God. We are a community-led grassroots movement that believes parents have the priority responsibility for the education of their children, and the responsibility is God-given. Amen. Yes, it is. No government nor any man can supersede the right of parents to train up their children in the way they should go. So this is just the beginning. This is a highlight. So we're going to be breaking down. So today we're breaking down what is Comprehensive Sexual Education. What is CSE? I hope this really helped you. I hope it breaks everything down for you. I'll be back. We'll be talking about critical race theory. We're going to be talking about social emotional learning, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and many other Just like I said here, destructive practices ruining our schools. And it's not just ruining our schools, it is ruining the minds of our children. So fight back. We know that God is the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through him. And there's also a way that seemeth right to a man, but in the end is destruction. So we always are training our children up in the way they should go. So we're trusting the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. Until next time, I'm praying for all of you. Stand up for your children. Stand up and protect them, protect their minds and their hearts, right? God is not the author of confusion, but of sound mind. God, look up and pray and stand for the truth and be bold in love, truth and love in these days. Thanks for listening. Until next time, bye-bye.